So, a lot of people are confused. What is Bitcoin? So I'm gonna stand on this side and tell you guys exactly what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is the exact same thing as any other money is. That means gold, a dollar bill, a colones from Costa Rica. The only difference is it's digital. So the obvious question to that is, well, if it's digital, then it doesn't exist, and you can't use it as money. That's wrong. Here's why. Bitcoin is a really cool thing called nodes and a blockchain. How it works, there's also wallets. That's where you have your Bitcoin. How it works is Bitcoin is mined using a saw hash rate. This is a very complex math equation that's really hard to find the solution to, but very easy to identify, to solve once you know the solution. What that means is they have all these miners who are just putting out electricity, spending their own money to mine this Bitcoin. They search and search and search, and then once they do finally get a correct code, they will send it to this cool thing called the blockchain. There, everybody else will plug in that code in the saw hash rate, whatever it's called, and will say, hey, that's right, that's a Bitcoin. That means it goes straight to somebody's wallet after it's mined. From there, they can sell it using nodes to somebody else's wallet. How does this work exactly? Well, it's mined, it's identified, it's real, you can't fake it, and it's put in somebody's wallet who mined it. From there, they want to send it, just like you'd want to send $5 to your grandma for Christmas. So they go, okay, how do I get this Bitcoin in my wallet to this other wallet without Bitcoin? There, you would use either the blockchain or nodes. What nodes are is somebody will set it up. How do I say this right? Somebody hosts a server with a QR code, which is like a passcode. Once you have that code, you can use any service. It's just like the internet. You can use Google, you can use Edge, you can use Firefox, you can use any browser. You can use an application to send Bitcoin from one to the other using a node. And everybody has nodes. They're everywhere. How nodes exist, because it costs electricity, is they charge a fee. Like credit cards have a 3% fee, except Bitcoin's fee is like 0.0001 because it's a lot cheaper, and they don't have any incentive to make it 3% because somebody will just use a different node. So this is the same thing. Bitcoin is the exact same thing as handing $1 to somebody, because in this exchange, the dollar bill goes from one hand to the other after it's printed in a big American building. They print all the money. Money gets dispersed to government buildings, government organizations, and those guys give their money out. And then that money is in circulation to the banks and whatnot. People get it and give it. The Bitcoin miners are the exact same thing here, except a little different. We'll go into that after this. Bitcoin miners send it to themselves, which they can then send to everybody else. It's the exact same thing. And what makes it real is the fact that you can't put fake Bitcoins on here. You have to mine it using your own electricity. That is called proof of work. The fact that people are willing to use their own money to gain this other resource is proof that this is money. And it's actually much harder than cash because These guys can print as much as they want. There's a bunch of mining out there, but they can't mine as much as they want. It's a little random, but it's also controlled in the sense you cannot have a surplus. Every year, you can mine less and less Bitcoin. So you're never going to have inflation. So I'm going to talk about how Bitcoin, how the miners are different than the Federal Reserve and any other country's money government. First, let's define what hard money is. There's a couple different terms we want. Volatility, hardness and softness, or easiness, salability, those are the important ones. Volatility, that is the price fluctuation of money and how frequent it changes. For example, gold is a relatively low volatility because gold does not change much in price. Bitcoin has really high volatility because it changes a lot. That's that. Hard and easy money. In Africa, a very long time ago, when the British colonists came, they saw, hey, some tribes are using these little glass beads as currency to exchange with other people that they just find on the beach. And because there's not that many on the beach, it works as money. Look at that. But the colonists were like, evil. We found all these glass beads somewhere else. So what we're going to do is destroy their currency and send it to them and destroy everything, basically. Take all their stuff. That's an example of easy money because it's a money or a currency super easy to produce or get. Bitcoin. The miners are a very set in stone method. You can't fabricate it. You can't print fake Bitcoin. They have to go through the proof of work we just talked about. And they have to expend their own energy. There will only ever be 21 billion Bitcoins, which sounds like a problem, like we're going to run out of money. But that's not a problem because it's infinitely divisible. But what this does mean is like, hey, if we're mining, this is a very gross overestimate, but if we're mining 1 billion a year, that's a B, we're going to run out in 21 years. Good thing Bitcoin has a thing called the halvening. It's every, I think, 4 years, Bitcoin, they make it much harder to mine Bitcoin. You can mine half as much as you did the previous 4 years. That means, what? It'd be 30, 40 something years. I'm not doing the math, and you're not either, but we know it's going to take a hell of a lot longer, and that's what makes Bitcoin, like gold, an extremely hard money. You can't claim that Bitcoin isn't hard money because it isn't real, because of the proof of work we talked about, and because of how it's exchanged exactly like money. The only difference is, I don't know, maybe a certain government infrastructure can't print as many as they want to make inflation 7%, so your $5,000 is actually worth less than $5,000 and you're working for something stupid. So you should probably move your money to a different bank or a different currency so it's worth the same. Because if I had invested all my hard-earned money throughout my years in high school working into Bitcoin, I would be much better off. Even though it was at around, 40,000 and it's only worth 37 right now, it would still be worth more. So, I never talked about salability. That's what we're going to talk about next. Salability is how good a money is at being money. That means salability has 3 key features. There's salability according to time, salability according to scale, and salability according to space. I don't mean astronauts. So, time. That means how long does it last? How long can you use it for? It's pretty simple stuff. Like the dollar salability in time, it's worth less and less every year. The dollar value looks like this on a graph. Gold, I have no idea what it looks like, but I imagine it looks like this. Right? Pretty good salability on time. Bitcoins looks like this. Pretty good. But remember, it's that very high volatility. Scale. That means if I wanted to give someone $26 billion, which currency would I use? Probably the money with the highest salability in accordance to scale. What I mean by that, a dollar only goes in $100. You will need briefcase upon briefcase upon briefcase of $100 bills to give someone $21 billion. Gold, a little bit better because it's much more dense. A much smaller bit of gold is worth, that much gold is worth that. So if you get a big old brick of gold, that's some pretty good salability according to scale. Bitcoin's volatility on scale is perfect because you can move as much as you want. The only problem is it has to go through the blockchain and you're probably going to get a fee unless you don't want it to get a fee, which means it will just take like a week or so. I should probably touch on that. What do you mean a fee? To get stuff on the blockchain, the nodes gather up multiple transactions and then put them in on one. It's the miners who authenticate these transactions, like, hey, that's a real one. Hey, that's a real one. The blockchain can only do one transaction on the blockchain every 4 minutes or something like that. 4 every 1 minute. I don't care. It doesn't matter. If you want high priority to get your thing in quick to move that money, you need to pay the miners more to have them pushing ahead because miners will always do the thing that gives them the greatest amount of money. Or you can just not pay the fee and wait, which is fine. Okay, with that done, salability according to space. That means I can give you all this money, but how do I move it? Like the dollar's pretty good at moving money because you just move it. Gold's really heavy, hard to move. It's how easy it is to move it from one space to the other. How do I get that over there? If I were to carry 100 pounds of gold, it'd be very hard. But if I were to carry 100 pounds of dollars, it'd be the exact same. But if I wanted to carry the same amount in dollar bills, it'd probably be easier to move because it wasn't as heavy. Bitcoin is also perfect for space because you can move it wherever you want on the internet. You can move as much of it as you want, as far as you want it. So what are some confusing things that I would not get if I watched my own presentation? Probably all of it, because this is everywhere, and it's not planned beforehand. I don't even know if you can see the whiteboard. But I want to talk on the mining and the nodes and the blockchain. Because I feel like I don't get that listening to myself. Oh yeah, that's a pretty good idea. What is the blockchain? The blockchain is a very long list of receipts. It's a one long receipt with every single transaction that has ever occurred in Bitcoin. That's mining, that's transferring, every single one. Every single one. That's all on here. You cannot obtain or lose Bitcoin without it going on the blockchain. It's pretty cool. The blockchain is what proves Bitcoin's money as well, because why does it do that? Because you can't change it unless you have valid Bitcoin that the blockchain recognizes as valid. And it's not valid unless it adds up with the math, and you can't do the math right unless it's legitimately mined. Okay, we got the blockchain. Every transaction occurs on there. What are nodes? Nodes are what move something from here to here. Nodes are run by anybody can get a node. Any single person. In fact, we have a node. And they take a large group. Let's see, these guys want to have 6 transactions. That'll take forever, and it'll go on as 6 different transactions on the blockchain. So they get their own node, and they have 6 transactions on there. And when they're done, they close the node. Everybody's happy. And the node goes on there as 1 transaction. It's pretty cool. Usually nodes have less of a fee because there's higher demand on the blockchain. So if you get somebody on their little node, it's like 2 cents to move $100 or something. Probably an even better deal. Definitely an even better deal. Probably free.